You never know who's serving you, until fate flips the table. The wedding reception was nothing short of extravagant. Gold-rimmed glasses glittered beneath a crystal chandelier, violins played a soft tune in the background, and the smell of money, fresh florals and imported truffle oils, hung in the air like perfume. The bride, Chelsea Langford, was stunning in a Vera Wang gown that cost more than most people's cars. Her laughter rang out like chimes, polished and elegant, as she basked in the attention of the elite guests. To everyone watching, she was the image of perfection, rich, powerful, adored. But perfection can be skin-deep. As she sat with her diamond-studded hand resting on the groom's arm, a young waitress approached to refill their champagne flutes. She was perhaps in her early 20s, her dark brown hair tucked behind her ears, her uniform crisp but faded. Her movements were careful and graceful, like someone used to balancing weight, literal and emotional. Chelsea looked up at her with narrowed eyes and, without a word, turned her head as though the woman didn't exist. The waitress whispered, "Would you like another pour, ma'am?" in a soft, respectful voice. "No, thank you," Chelsea said coldly, then added with a smirk, "but you can stand up straighter. We're not in a diner." The waitress nodded slightly and moved on, not flinching, only pausing for a heartbeat longer than necessary. But the bride wasn't done. As the waitress turned to serve the next table, Chelsea leaned over to her maid of honor and said loud enough for several guests to hear, "Some people just don't belong in elegant places. You'd think they'd at least train them to smile." That would have been the end of it. Just another rich woman being dismissive, another worker swallowing her pride. Just another ordinary cruelty in a glittering world of hidden pain. But then, the groom looked up. He hadn't been paying attention to the exchange, until he saw the waitress's face. His champagne flute slipped from his hand and crashed to the floor. The room fell silent as heads turned toward the sudden sound. But the groom's eyes were frozen, wide with recognition, and a single word escaped his lips, "Eva?" The waitress stopped in her tracks. Chelsea stared at him, confused and annoyed. "What did you say, Miles?" The groom didn't answer. He was already on his feet, walking toward the waitress with the kind of stunned awe one might have for a ghost. "Eva, is that really you?" The woman, Eva, looked at him for a long moment before replying. "Hello, Miles." That name, the name she used to whisper on park benches, back when they were both nobodies. Chelsea's face twisted in confusion. Who is she? Miles didn't even look at her. His eyes stayed on Eva. She was my everything. You could have heard a pin drop. Eva and Miles had met when they were both 18, working at a small cafe in a quiet Massachusetts town. She made coffee, he washed dishes. They dreamed big under fluorescent lights, saving tip money in old peanut butter jars for a future that always felt just out of reach. They were in love, young, pure, and reckless. She wanted to be a nurse. He wanted to build something, anything, that mattered. They used to dream about a house with a yellow door and a garden of lavender. But fate was cruel. Miles' father died suddenly, and with that, came responsibilities he couldn't run from. He left town, taking a job with a distant uncle who owned a tech company in Boston. He wrote Eva letters at first, long, emotional ones. But eventually, they slowed, then stopped. He hadn't meant to leave her behind. Life just got fast. Eva never blamed him. She stayed, finished nursing school, and worked double shifts to pay off her debts. But after a tragic accident took her younger brother's life, she dropped out. Her mother fell into depression, and Eva had to care for her full-time. Dreams shrank. Survival took over. Now, years later, she was just another waitress serving people who'd never know what it cost her to smile. Until today. Chelsea's voice broke the silence. Is this some kind of joke? Miles, what's going on? Miles turned to her, slowly. She's Eva. The girl I was going to marry before I ever met you. Chelsea scoffed. So what? That was years ago. You're marrying me now. He shook his head, like someone waking from a deep fog. You were cruel to her. You mocked her, treated her like nothing. Chelsea crossed her arms, her voice trembling with indignation. She is nothing. Just a waitress. Eva flinched, but didn't say a word. That's when an older man stood up from a corner table. He had silver hair and a gentle gaze. She's not nothing, he said, loud and clear. She's the woman who sat by her dying mother's bedside every day at my hospital. She gave up her dreams for family. I know because I was her mother's doctor. And I've never seen loyalty like hers. The silence deepened. Another woman chimed in, an older guest with designer heels. She volunteers at the shelter down the street. Feeds the homeless every Saturday. I've seen her push a broken car down Main Street just last winter, said a groomsman. That woman is tougher than half the people here. Slowly, the room began to shift. The power dynamic flipped. Chelsea looked around, baffled that the room was no longer revolving around her. Eva turned to leave quietly, but Miles caught her hand. I thought I lost you, he whispered. All this time, I thought I had moved on. But seeing you, it's like my heart remembers something I buried alive. Eva looked at him, her eyes filled with years of pain and strength. You didn't lose me, Miles. You let me go. Chelsea gasped. You're not seriously reconsidering your wedding now? He looked at her, hard and clear-eyed. Chelsea, I admired you. I convinced myself I loved you. But love isn't diamonds or dresses or the perfect Instagram post. Love is showing up. Every day. Even when it's hard. And the truth is, you mocked the one person who taught me what love meant. He turned to Eva again. If there's even a chance we can talk, even as friends. I don't want to walk away a second time. Tears welled in her eyes. You don't get to choose me when it's convenient, Miles. I know, he said. But I'm asking. And in that moment, something in her face softened, not forgiveness, not yet. But maybe the beginning of it. The yellow door was even brighter than they'd imagined. Eva stood on the porch, watching Miles try, and fail, to plant lavender without destroying the garden bed. They weren't married yet. They were still learning how to be real with each other again, how to rebuild without rushing. But there was laughter, and late-night talks, and respect. And at the center of it all, grit, growth, and grace. Chelsea's photo from the wedding went viral, but not for the reason she hoped. She became the face of privileged arrogance, and her career as an influencer stumbled hard. Months later, she posted a video tearfully apologizing to the waitress, admitting she had looked down on others for too long. Meanwhile, Eva? She started nursing school again. Part-time. Because sometimes, the most powerful revenge is healing your own life. And Miles? He waited outside her class every Friday, holding a coffee, just like old times. Because true love doesn't always come easy. But it never leaves when things get hard.